Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to Taste Radio Now, a weekly TV show presented on Instagram and YouTube. We're on every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, talking about recent episodes of Taste Radio, some of the things that are happening here at BevNET headquarters, and meeting with a few interesting folks here from the office, and then those from outside the office as well. Mike, what are you doing?
I'm checking the feed here, Ray. This is a show about engagement. Hey, Ray, by the way, I missed you last week.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Did you really miss me?
Did Manchester United win?
Yes, they did. 3-1.
No, not at all.
All right, fair enough. For those of you watching at home, tuning in, for those of you watching at home and tuning in from your office, thank you so much. If you have any questions, comments, ridicule, please send them in. You can do so by messaging us on Instagram or chatting with us on YouTube. Now, John Landis is over here. He's behind the scenes. He's on double duty. He looks like he's almost losing his mind, but not quite losing his mind yet.
You're putting me on triple duty right now.
What's triple duty?
Well, now I'm like
now he's behind
talent
the mic.
too.
I see. Your talent.
First time.
Indeed. So on tap today, we've got Evie Chen, who's in the house.
All right. Oh, that's her.
Evie's the founder of Evie Tea, a cold brew tea brand based here in Boston. A little bit later on, we're going to have Carol Ornberg, who's the editor of Nosh, talking about a recent trip to Israel. She's going to be talking about some of the food trends that she saw on her trip. We're going to be chatting, that's Mike and I, about episode 150 of Taste Radio, which featured Mary Grace Sexton, the founder of Natalie's Orchid Island Juice Company, and episode 22 of Taste Radio Insider with Ben Mann, the CEO of Harmless Harvest, and Michelle Simon, the executive director of the Plant-Based Food Association. And last but not least, we're going to be drinking and imbibing and eating some of the products that recently came into the office this week.
People are streaming in here, Ray. Like Origin Almond came back from.
Chill
he
dude.
was here last week, and Jake was here last week, and I don't know. I see a lot more people. I think it's probably because you're here.
You know, I tend to attract interest for some reason. I think people want to see what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. But I think we need to hear we're going to need to hear what people are going to say about our guest. That's Evie Chen from
Should we
Evie
bring
Tea.
her on?
I think we should bring her on.
Okay. All
yes. Once again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Taste Radio Now, a live weekly TV show streamed on Instagram and YouTube. This is Evie Chen, the founder of... well, Mike was in the way of the camera.
Mike, move it, Mike.
We can do this again. This is Evie Chen, the founder of Evie Tea, a cold brew tea brand based here in Boston. Another high five.
Yes.
Well done. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
How far is it from, you were coming from Charlestown,
Correct.
which is a neighborhood in Boston. How far is it to here to Watertown?
Without traffic or with traffic?
Moderate traffic.
Without, it's 13 minutes. With, it's probably 22.
Wait, 13 minutes from Charlestown to Watertown?
Yeah, 95.
Oh, okay.
So it's not too bad.
Not too bad. If you want any driving tips, then ask Evie about it. So what is Evie Tea? I mentioned that you're a cold brew tea brand. Yep. When did you guys launch? What are you all about?
So we're launched in 2014, and this whole thing really is my story in a bottle. I was actually born in Southeast China. My grandparents were a bit of a revolutionist, and they got themselves into a lot of trouble. My parents are journalists, so born and raised in a sense that I was completely just didn't fit in China. As schoolgirl, I was completely just out of craziness. Nobody had the control over me. So my parents were like, let's get her out of here. So that's how...
You sound like a typical entrepreneur. No,
I know.
No one can control you. You're on your own. You want to do your own thing.
Right.
So you started a tea
Unfortunately,
company.
for an Asian girl, that's not the best route to go to. And
being an entrepreneur?
In China, it's like the opposite, right?
Oh, okay.
So my parents were like, let's get her out there. So the whole cold brew thing was just a fascinating thing for me because I know tea. I'm from China. I was born and raised there. I know my stuff, but the whole cold brew process is the opposite of what we typically do. Hot brews bring in hot water, cold brews bring in cold water, and iced tea is such an American thing. Mm-hmm. So Evie Tea really is a California row of tea. That's how I call it.
So, some people might say the authentic way of making tea is with hot water.
Mm-hmm.
You release a lot of those flavors. You get so much of that. I get some of the functional benefit from
Absolutely.
tea as well by hot brewing. What's the benefit of cold brewing?
So cold brew really brings out different layers of flavors. It's a lot cleaner. You can taste the floriness. You can taste the fruitiness. And also, I'm not an authentic Chinese person. I'm a Chinese American. And lots of us are not authentic. American culture is not authentic. We sort of take other things and we make it our own. And cold brew is a fantastic way of doing that.
So in addition to the bottled tea products that you have right here, and thank you so much for bringing them, how many SKUs do you have in your line?
We have 5. So there's an unsweetened green tea, black tea strawberry, there's a chamomile lavender, hibiscus, and the newest one is the Evie Palmer, which is my take on a Arnold Palmer.
The Evie Palmer. I love it. I got to put it down. Landis, we got to turn it around here. This is how, do you see that? No, Landis? Landis is saying no. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Poor Landis.
Okay. All right, we did it. This is Taste Radio Now. If you're just tuning in, it's a live weekly TV show streamed on Instagram and YouTube. We're with Evie Chen, the founder of Evie Tea, a cold brew tea brand. So I was saying, in addition to your bottle products, you also have a tea bar that's in the Jamaica Plain neighborhood here in Boston. Why'd you open a tea bar? Why is it important to have a retail shop?
So in the very beginning, we're a small company. We're still a smaller company today, but it was important for me to R&D, to really test flavors before it goes to the market. You know this, to bottle something, it takes a year sometimes to go from concept to recipe to ratio to USDA organic to all that stuff. It takes a long time. So it was important to prove concept for me before they ever go to the market. So the flavors actually came out from the tea bar. So we'll be selling thousands and thousands of cups, and we'll tweak flavors and recipes and all that before we even attempt bottling it. So that was really the primary functionality of the tea bar. It was also important for me to get to know my customers. It's one thing that you're on a survey and you're like, oh, my customers are 25 to 35-year-olds. It's another thing that when you see them in person.
What have you learned from these customers? Excuse me. What have you learned as I'm turning on my my Instagram here to hear myself? I don't want to hear myself, but what have you learned from your customers? What have you learned from the tea bar? Is it in terms of flavor, function? What are customers looking for when it comes to tea?
I think the positioning was really what I found. Was I a unsweetened brand? Was I a super sweetened brand? Is it juice plus tea? What exactly is my market fit? So where I found was that people love sweet stuff, but they might not want all the sugar in it. So using honey to sweeten it was the right way to go for me, right? For the strawberry, it was...
Do you use honey to sweeten all your tea products?
Correct. Wow, pretty cool. Yeah, so there's no white sugar in them at all. So the honey really gave them a better flavor profile versus unsweetened, so it's a lot more drinkable. So that's really where I found my fit, my line of the California roll for tea. That's really where that came from. It was in the tea bar.
Sounds like we have a question from the audience. Mike Schneider is going to read it. If folks out there have any questions for us, for Evie, send them to us via the Instagram chat feature, the YouTube chat feature. We'll answer them. Mike?
First, I'm sorry for messing up your shot there, Landis. I know you're pulling double duty, triple duty, quadruple duty here as usual. Mitch Murray 92 wants to know, cold brew coffee is very popular right now. Will cold brew tea ever take off like that, and what's it going to take?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good question, actually, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to answer it. I have my pundit answer. I'm not going to get to that. You're the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You might have a better sense of where cold brew tea is in terms of its growth cycles, in terms of its life cycle. Are people recognizing what cold brew tea is? I mean, are they comparing it to the coffee version? Where's the traction for this liquid at this point?
So I think a lot of this is really what the product was based on was an iced tea product, and it just changed the process of it. So it's still an iced tea, but we position ourselves as a cold brew iced tea versus coffee, just cold brew coffee. So when you say cold brew now, people think of coffee. But people do recognize the word cold brew as a process term. So when they say, okay, cold brew tea, is that the same thing as cold brew coffee? Does it have the same amount of caffeine? Does it have the same amount of, functional properties? So that market education has become easier and easier for me. I started the company, the concept came around in 2010. At that time, 90% of my education was on what cold brew was. Nobody really cared about the brand yet because nobody knew what cold brew was yet. So now I can focus a lot more on the actual brand and actual story because people have an idea of what cold brew is. Hopefully the cold brew tea whole thing is going to take off. I'm in this 100% of the time.
Well, I mean, it also helps if you have competitors, right? Like to build out that set on shelf. It seems like there's only a handful of other brands that are out there that are selling cold brew tea. Have you seen a shelf set? I mean, have you seen a growing set of cold brew teas out there?
Yes, a lot of cold brew coffee companies are actually launching their cold brew tea competitors. So to me, what's really interesting is that most of those people are coffee people, and they think that teas are really easy to just pull off versus all I do is tea. So that's a major difference there in terms of flavor profile and the way that I structured the I guess, the texture of the product. So I'm seeing more and more competitors on shelf, but next to cold brew coffee sets, not as much as like, standalone yet.
Well, I think that's a good indicator of where the set is right now. Mike, you have another question from the audience?
Yeah, first, thanks, Mitch Murray, for the question. Now, Coffee with Kayla would like to know, what was your biggest hurdle in manufacturing? How'd you overcome it?
So when I first started the company, nobody could make a cold brew tea at all. Today it's no different. So if you go to a co-packer, I actually had to design the production process from the very beginning to fit into a co-packer's sort of current setup. So I built my own water filtration system. I built my own, brewing system. So that was a really, really difficult thing to do, especially we're in the middle of scaling. I'm actually brewing another 10,000 gallons in 2 weeks.
10,000 gallons.
10,000 gallons.
That must be fun.
It's a lot of tea, right? it's a lot of tea. That has been very challenging in terms of finding the right place to make it. But it's also very, very exciting that I'm in a place where I can make that product and sell them all. So,
it's interesting. One of the other aspects of your business is your keg and draft business. You're kegging your tea, you're selling it to offices. How's that business going? I mean, is it challenging? Is it growing? Are you seeing more and more food service and offices like ask for a keg draft setup?
You're getting props for your packaging, by the way.
I'm sorry?
You're getting props for your packaging, by the way.
Cool. So speaking of that, so we have to talk about a little bit about my go-to-market strategy. So a lot of my bottles, you're not going to find them in major retail chains just yet. We're launching 750 stores in a month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Very excited. But a lot of them, you can find them in fast casual restaurant chains. That's sort of my strategy of going to market versus going to another major chain.
So your primary focus at this point is food service, retail is second, or
Correct.
grocery second?
So I'm actually attracting a lot of attention from major retailers because they've seen people going to eat. For example, when you're going to lunch, you're going to X restaurants, you're going to X, salad place or burger place, whatever. When you see EVT there, the price point tend to be a little bit higher than what will be on the grocery shelf. And then when they go home to grocery shop, they see them on, in a store. They're like, oh, great deal. I'll grab them. So I'm attracting lots of attention from that side of things. So when a lot of restaurants started to carry all my flavors, they're bringing the draft on tap for seasonal flavors. So it's almost a bit more like a draft beer now.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, with the rise of people drinking lower alcohol or non-alcoholic products, you are seeing many of those kombuchas and teas and coffees and things like that on draft. It's cool to see a cold brew tea now join that set as well. Evie, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to be with us. This has been so much fun. I remember, I think it was the first time we met was at a Food and Beverage University event that BevNet held, and I think it was in 2013 in Boston.
I think.
And just the fact that you've made it this far, and that you've been able to
live and kicking.
Well, live, not just alive and kicking, but growing. I mean, when somebody said cold brew tea in 2013, you're like, what is this? Yeah. And now you're really doing your thing. And
one more question real quick. Any suggestions for a cold brew tea cocktail?
Oh.
Yes. Actually, I have some of my favorites. Hibiscus is one of my favorite ingredients to work with.
Okay.
Gin is great. Vodka with it is great.
So vodka with the...
There's a hibiscus, and this one's great too, with the strawberry.
Okay. Which one is the hibiscus? Oh, we don't have the hibiscus.
No, just the strawberry today.
Interesting. I think so. I think a little bit of bourbon with the Evie Palmer might be good.
Bourbon's good too, actually.
Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah. Thank you so much again for being with us. If you have any questions for Evie, or you want to follow her on Instagram, how do you follow you on Instagram?
At Cold Brew Tea.
At Cold Brew Tea. That's a good one.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
See you soon, all right? You can hand the mic to Mike. You like that? All right. That was Evie Chen, the founder of Evie Tea, a cold brew tea brand based here in Boston. Fantastic person, fantastic entrepreneur. I love seeing Evie.
Me too. Every time she comes in, she's always like.
Which is what we love. We love some good tea. Now, I think it's time for me to step off, is it?
I hope so. No. No, it is time for you to step off and to bring on Carol Orenberg. Hopefully, John, have you got the... No? Okay, we'll figure it out. All right.
All right.
Well, we're going to keep going with what we're going with.
I'm gonna leave one of the tea products out here so you can drink some. If
Thanks.
You want.
I'd love to drink some.
All right, after you.
Okay.
Let's switch.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So Carol's going to come on, and we're going to Carol, editor of Nosh.com. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
First time?
First time. Taking some time
First
away
time,
from
long
all
time?
the Expo PR. Lots of stories breaking on Nosh.
I know so many crazy things are going to be going on at Expo. You must be very busy, so thanks a lot for taking the time to come out here. I'm going to try to, try to do a little double duty here, multitasking while we're waiting for Ray to get back. Let's talk a little bit about your trip. You went to Israel? What
Yeah,
brought
I
you
went
out
to
there?
Israel. There was an amazing conference in Israel, about 300 food and food tech entrepreneurs, actually some familiar faces from the trade show floor. Got to see Mighty Sesame there, where I know at the podcast you guys were a big fan of their tahini bars.
Oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
gave me that when I felt sad one day.
Yeah,
I like
didn't
that.
it make you
It
happy?
made me so much happier.
Yeah, so even in Israel, we've got Nosh readers, which is awesome. So I spoke at that conference, and then on top of that, got to spend 4 days traveling around Israel and meeting amazing food tech entrepreneurs. It was coordinated through the Israeli Export Institute. If you're interested in visiting Israel, meeting some of these entrepreneurs, happy to connect folks. I know they're eager to bring more people over to the States to meet the amazing companies that are there, both investors or also retailers. A lot of these companies are dying to expand to the U.S.
Now, Israel's called Startup Nation, and I want to talk a little bit about startup culture in Israel. But before that,
We have
while
to
you
talk
were
about your
there-
favorite
While
thing.
you were there, you were slacking me all kinds of awesome stuff about their coffee culture.
Amazing coffee culture. And it's funny because there's actually some instant coffee companies in the States, and they had always said, well, instant coffee is really popular in Israel, and I was inspired by that. Got to Israel, found out instant coffee 5 years ago. They've moved on. I was told it's actually the only country where Starbucks tried to open and had to shut down.
And why is that? What's their preference now if it's not instant coffee?
It's not instant coffee.
Is it pour-overs?
it's-
Is it
I didn't see a lot of pour-overs.
cup of joe?
No cup of joe.
Really?
So at the food conference I went to, even at like a gas station I went to, it was an espresso machine. And they're literally sitting there pulling espresso shots, making cappuccinos, making lattes, putting Mike's latte art to shame.
Damn it, I was going to ask if it compared. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
sorry,
they got
Mike.
me. They got me there, huh?
They do. And there's even a startup that I met called Milk It, and they make taps, just like kind of bar taps for, I think, Mike, you're being summoned.
I'm pretty sure that was maybe not the one, but okay.
They're making bar taps for milk. So that baristas, it doesn't froth it. It doesn't do anything. It just gives them the perfect amount of chilled milk. It's a labor efficiency. It also is a food waste efficiency. You're not getting too much or too little milk, but it also keeps it chilled exactly as that temperature. As you probably know, if your milk is too hot, you're not going to get the right froth. And literally, I saw one of these taps at a gas station I stopped
I love
at.
the optimization here, obviously, and obviously the innovation's amazing too. Mitch Murray wants to know how the latte art game is compared to here. Obviously, it's better than mine, but that's not saying much. Did they throw down latte art at the gas station?
They did. It had like a leaf in it. I'll show you a picture later. But it was just, that was more what I was taken with, was that no matter where you went, there was a focus and an attention and a care to what you were getting. I got a cappuccino, gas station, airport, our conference that we had in Israel, and they were perfect every single time. Surprisingly, not as into the alternative milks, and perhaps that's just because there's not enough of a demand. Everywhere you go, if you ask for alt milk, it's going to be soy milk. Often, I think, sweetened soy milk, but no oat milk, Mike.
Well, they'll catch up, I'm sure. Israel's called Startup Nation. A lot of great tech has come out of Israel. Waze, for instance, founder came from Israel. A lot of the product was made there. One of the great apps of our time, I'd say. How's the food and beverage startup culture compared to the tech culture?
I mean, there's definitely a blending of food and technology. So whether that is proprietary sugar molecules that taste like you're actually getting more sugar on your tongue than what's in the product, or plant-based yogurts, or aquaponic growing systems, there's definitely a merging of the two together. And part of the reason for this emphasis is it's a country that I'm told is the size of New Jersey, right? There's not a lot of land. There's not a lot of space. So if you want to produce something, you have to be really strategically smart about that. Now, they have one key major advantage in Israel. They have the Strauss Group. Strauss Group is a huge CPG strategic company, and they have opened an incubator called The Kitchen. It's in partnership with the Israeli government, and there they incubate food and more so food technology companies, everything from robotics companies to said plant-based yogurt to food safety companies. For 2 years, they get a slight investment. In exchange, they take some equity. And I mean, think about a major CPG having people in a space day in, day out. You want to do a run of your yogurt? They're like, yeah, sure, use our yogurt plant in the north, you know. Oh, you want to meet some major retail chain, I shouldn't say who, while I was there, was visiting this incubator to meet their people. These guys, some of them didn't even have product in the market, and they were meeting with one of the largest retailers in the world to pitch their products.
Now, you mentioned some of the products that you mentioned and the innovations that you mentioned are plant-based, and they seem to be leading the way in plant-based innovation. Why is that?
Well, I will say it's plant-based diets are incredibly popular there. I feel like you could be vegan or vegetarian in Israel and not have a problem. It's just accepted. You have to think about it, right? There's not a whole lot of room to stick a bunch of cows grazing. I was told a lot of the meat comes from Argentina or South America and is imported over. So if you need to feed people meat and you want to make that more efficient, or you want to cater to a demographic that's looking for a plant-based lifestyle, you got to find a new way to do it. So there were kind of 3 buckets of meat that we saw. Bucket 1 was the idea of plant-based meat. Think Beyond Meat or Impossible. I have to say, I actually thought this was a little closer to the taste of real meat. It was called Real Bite. And the amazing thing about them is they use 8 ingredients. 8. And I could pronounce every single one of them, which never happens to me. So 1, you've got plant-based meat. Second, you've got 3D printed meat, which is something I had never seen before.
Like MakerBot or something?
Yeah, like MakerBot meat. Printed from plant-based cells, so completely vegetarian. As somebody who's kosher, like, it blew my mind, the idea I could have 3D printed kosher bacon. Like, what? So there's a
I hope you brought some of this back in your
didn't.
suitcase.
I should say none of this technology is there just yet. Redefined Meat, I believe he said he's a couple months out from having a product that, you know, will hit viability. And then there's some other companies that are a little further along, further out in how long it'll take to get to market. And the third major bucket was clean meat. Big debate over what you should call it: clean meat, cultured meat. Someone actually suggested slaughter-free meat, which I thought was a really clever way to phrase it. It teaches the consumer exactly what it is. Not sure how the meat producers are going to go over with the idea of slaughter, but
you could get, like, you know, Anthrax or Danzig to be the spokesperson, spokesband, you know, for that.
Spokesman, there we go. But yeah, biofood systems. I got to meet one of the foremost stem cell researchers in the world. And one of the projects she's working on is growing clean meat, as well as Aleph Farms, which I think a lot of folks in the States are more familiar with. There's been a little bit more buzz about them here.
Well, phenomenal. It sounds like it was a great trip. Where can we find out more about your trip?
There'll be a lot more coming on Nosh.com post-Expo West, kind of an overview of what's going on in Israel. There's a lot more to talk about, from algae to sugar reduction. And again, I would just say that if you're making a list of countries to visit and really see companies that are at the forefront of what they're doing in our industry, Israel, top of the list. And, you know, please reach out. We're always happy to help make connections.
Thanks so much. Where should they reach out?
You can reach out at cortenberg@nosh.com or news@nosh.com, or on Instagram, I am Modern Foodist.
Thanks so much for being
That's
on the
a lot.
show.
I know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Mike.
mean, that's a lot. But
Should I give my mailing address too?
yeah, we
Like,
probably should. Your phone
Only
number.
thing I'm not giving is my cell number
Gotcha.
because that will be bad at Expo West.
Fair enough. Fair point. Well, thanks for being on the show. We'll see you at Expo.
Yeah, we're gonna play the hokey pokey and change seats again.
Okay,
I think.
sounds good. So, if you want to see, especially like the coolest stuff that it seems like Carol finds all the cool stuff at Expo West. Like she will hit all the booths in every single hall. I mean, she's just like a machine out there, and her Instagram is one of my favorites because, you're going to be having FOMO while you're at Expo West. You're going to be sitting in your booth, and you're going to be wondering what's going on. Follow Modern Foodist. One of the people you should follow is Modern Foodist during the show.
Do people still use the word FOMO?
Oh, yeah, FOMO's still used.
FOMO is still hot?
What's FOMO mean? Everyone knows what FOMO means.
FOMO
It's not
means...
hot. FOMO sucks. It's never been hot. No one likes FOMO.
True enough. Well, that was some really interesting stuff, and it was really interesting to hear Carol talk about some of the innovations that are happening with plant-based meat. And it was great to hear Michelle Simon in episode 22 of Taste Radio Insider talk about the things that are happening in that segment. Michelle Simon is the executive director of the Plant-Based Food Association, which is a trade group that advocates for dairy alternative meat or animal-based meat alternative products. And Carol did that interview as well. So amazing, all the things that are happening, all the innovation that's happening in that area. And it's ticked a few people off on the animal-based protein side. Some of the large meat companies, some of the animal-based meat industry.
Maybe feel a little threatened.
They feel a
maybe?
little threatened. But it was interesting to hear Michelle talk about, we see people, shoppers, in grocery stores, not just buying one or the other. They're putting everything into that cart. And what the Plant-Based Food Association is trying to really stress is that we're here. We're providing an alternative. We're providing education and awareness about these plant-based products so that if you do want them, they're available. And it's not necessarily, hey, we're trying to push these other products out of the market. It's we're giving people a choice.
Yeah, I think imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, isn't it, Ray? I mean, they're trying to, if it looks like a hamburger and it tastes like a hamburger, they want to call it a hamburger. It looks like milk, tastes like milk. They want to call it milk. And, there's been a lot of, let's just say that the design, service providers, designers, lawyers have been very busy as a result of this and are maybe enjoying this a little.
Yeah, I mean, there's a debate right now about what you can call meat, what you can call milk. And even though...
I love what Matcha Works does out of the UK and some of the UK brands, M*LK, because it's like Spurs, of course.
Some people have used MYLK to explain or promote their dairy-free alternatives and nut-based milks and things like that. Harmless Harvest, actually, which is the famous coconut water company that many people know about, super premium coconut water that you can get. Well, you can get at a lot of places now. At the Winter Fancy Food Show, they unveiled their revamp of their dairy-free probiotic line. Originally, they just called it probiotics and a cultured coconut beverage. Now, they finally made the leap to calling it a dairy-free yogurt, which I think is so much better. I mean, and part of their hesitation...
it's kind of an oxymoron.
Well,
but
which Ben
not
Mann,
anymore.
Ben Mann talked about this. The CEO of Harmless Harvest talked about this in episode 22 of Taste Radio Insider. Is that you got to call it what it is. I mean, it's the taste, it's the texture, the fact that people are a lot more aware of the fact that a dairy-free yogurt. What is a dairy-free yogurt? It's just the timing was right. And people are much more inclined and willing to try these kinds of products nowadays than they were in the past.
Have you noticed I'm drooling a little bit? It's because Honey Mama's just checked in.
I did see.
Okay,
What is?
sure. You saw that. But to get back to the Harmless Harvest conversation, the original iteration of the smoothie product, or if you will, was called Harmless Harvest Probiotics,
Right.
And it had some use occasion issues because of the name, and also it had pretty high sugar content. So they went back, they relooked at this thing, they analyzed the market, and they relaunched it with a smaller package and a different name.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, it's interesting to see a Natalie's Orchid Island Juice Company getting into cold pressed juice. And in episode 150 of Taste Radio, the flagship Taste Radio, I sat down, I spoke with Mary Grace Sexton, who's the founder of the company, And, you know, they've had such high quality standards for their products for such a long period of time. They were really hesitant to actually get into cold pressed juice until they really had it down right. Now, maybe the timing is wrong. Maybe the timing isn't ideal for a new cold pressed juice brand out there, given that people are drinking less juice and
War on sugar.
there's that war on sugar as well. But, I mean, she's got a great track record. She has very specific quality standards for her products. And, you know, I wouldn't doubt her now. I mean, she's built a $63 million company to this point, and she seems to know what she's doing.
I wouldn't doubt her either. And I also, you know, I think there are places that, you know, juice is winning, like in shots, for instance. People still want cold-pressed juice. They still believe in the benefits of cold-pressed juice. There's a lot of education out there. Yes, high sugar is happening, but maybe smaller form factor is a key for them. I mean, you're seeing Vive Organic and Core Shots, you know, in these smaller packages doing pretty well. And no one's really pointing at those going, well, no one that we're talking to is pointing at those going, oh, there's too much sugar in that shot, because, you know, you're kind of willing to take it in a smaller form factor and get the benefit.
Now I'm drooling. I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
Can we try this? Okay.
We should.
I'm gonna open this up. This is the Evie Palmer. I haven't tried this yet. This looks really, really great.
While you're opening that up, I'm going to do some shout-outs.
I'm just gonna give it another shot for our brand cam.
Hello, Levi Filkins. Hello, Honey Mamas again. Hello, Jake from Origin Almonds, still with us, sticking by. Hello, 7x7. Oh, you know who else is here? Pictures of dishes drying. They're back, Landis.
Pictures.
Our
of dishes.
favorite is back.
Photos.
We're
of
going to
dishes.
find out.
Photos of dishes
yeah,
drying.
Photos of dishes drying. I'm sorry. I'm nervous.
Now, as we pull some of
Live.
these, as we pull some of these products off or out of our little
Wait,
bin
how did you
here.
know that, Landis? Is that you? Are you photos of dishes drying?
No, but I'm watching the Instagram
Okay.
feed,
All right.
among other things.
I'm watching you.
As we're pulling some of these products out of here, if you have any questions, comments, or ridicule for us, we accept everything. Just message us on Instagram or on YouTube if you're watching on that platform. All right. While I'm opening this, hey Mike.
Yes, sir.
I saw you drooling over this.
Yeah, I was.
This is a product called Truff. I mean, it's a brand called Truff. It's their hot sauce. This is a pretty fantastic looking package design. It's a black truffle infused hot sauce.
Olaloa Kakuna's here.
Let's take a look.
Olaloa Kahuna is here. That's awesome.
What do you think of this
I
product?
wanted to shout
Have
out.
you've tried
okay,
this,
so
right?
the truff, I like this stuff. I think I like the truffle oil flavor. I like the hot sauce. I think there's a good balance. I would like this on fish. I'd love to have this on cod. It's pretty delicious. But it's a pretty high price point.
I can't open this bottle. Maybe
Here,
you can
let
open
me
it.
have a try here.
Okay. While you're opening that, I'm going to take a look at this. This is actually a really, really interesting bottle. I mean, if we can get a close up on the top here, it's almost like a jewel. But I mean, I love this sort of minimalist design of this. It really speaks to
I feel like Arsene Wenger trying to zip up my zipper.
it feels like a high quality product. It feels like a super premium product. Landis, do you know the price point on this by any chance?
I think it's $40 for a
This
bottle.
is $40.
No,
I think-
it's 15.
Oh.
$15. Okay, 40,
Misinformation.
15.
$40 for 4 bottles.
Well, I mean, $15 for black truffle infused hot sauce. I think I might buy this actually. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Okay, no one can open the bottle of EVT.
Hold on.
Oh, where are you going? I'm all on my own, folks. Mike has left the building. No, he's coming back. All right. This actually just came into the office today. This is Bloom Honey Water. It's an interesting product. This is a water product that's sweetened, obviously, with honey. It's got natural juice or organic flavors and some. It's got some extract in it
Ray.
too. Yes. What?
She glued them.
She
This is an Evie thing. She would do this to us.
Aren't you supposed to see? I'm tempted to like knock. Remember back in the day, like you were watching some like Sesame Street type show, and you'd like knock the bottle like this, and it would help open it. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Let's see if this works.
Raul from Brazil's on, from Carnival. Oh, you got it. Nice job. Jeez.
See, Sesame Street always teaches you the right thing.
All right. Hey, the honey water that came into the
This
office.
is actually really
Talked
delicious.
about that
This is really
already.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't share it with you now.
No, that's okay. I mean, because I can't get another one open anyway.
So Bloom Honey Water. What do you think of this product, Mike?
I think there's a lot going on this label. If you handed it to me right off the bat, you know, like clearly it's a sticker, and it for me it has a new product look and feel, which I like. So I'm looking at this and saying, oh, this must be something that's new on the market, just because of the maturity of the label, which for me is a good thing. Maybe not for everybody. Clearly, it's honey water.
Clearly, it's honey water.
I like
but,
that.
But
I
what
like
is
that
honey
the
water?
hero is honey water.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Is like when somebody sees this on the shelf, what's the point
honey.
of reference?
I like water, so I'm gonna pick this up and take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what you're gonna turn it around, take a look at the back, and say, okay, it's water with honey. That's what it is.
What do you think about? Is the brand big enough? Is the brand logo big enough? I think that might be an issue too.
So look, this is one of those things where a lot of people like, make the logo. Have you ever heard the song "Make the Logo Bigger"? I've sung it.
I have not
I'm
heard
pretty
that.
sure.
No.
But anyway, that's a YouTube moment for some people. Google or YouTube search for "Make the Logo Bigger." That's fun. But I think, especially if you're a new brand, that you should make your logo small. You don't want your logo to be the hero because someone's going to see the logo first. You want them to first see that it's honey water, and in this case you can, and I think that's a good thing because you want them to, oh, honey water is the product. That's what it is, and then they look at Bloom second.
You see that free advice from
Just saying.
a branding guy. I'm not going to call you a branding expert because who's an expert? What does an expert mean? Yeah.
So
All right.
If you call me an expert, I would never call myself an expert.
How about this brand? What do you think of this product? Recess. Okay, so
That's the one I said I was going to guzzle, but you said I'm not allowed to.
no, this was $6. So I was in New York last week visiting with a few folks, recording some podcast interviews. We actually have a podcast interview with Benjamin Woody, the founder of Recess, that's going to be featured on episode 24 of Taste Radio Insider, coming out next week. Recess is a CBD-infused sparkling water brand. Ton of hype when this product came out. And it tastes pretty darn good, but the packaging is really what stands out.
I love the packaging of this. Mitch Murray would also like to know who your favorite character is on Sesame
I'm
Street.
going to think about that while you talk about
All right.
Recess. Thanks,
So,
Mitch.
Great question, Mitch. Very appropriate, on brand. So what I love about the packaging of this is that there is attention to white space. Now, okay, the can's not totally white, but there's a lot of blank space, which means that they figured out what the most important thing to put on their label was. And they put only that on the label. So, there's a lot of times you'll see a package that, if I could pick on one, you've had Waku before, right?
Yes, Waku's a local brand here, yep.
It's a tonic. And it's one of those things where they've broken so many design rules, putting everything onto that bottle. And so, it's awesome. The bottle's awesome because everything's on it, but there's so many call-outs that it's like you're not really sure as a user or as someone who's about to drink this, which one to focus on. And so like these guys have figured out a way to simplify that. Now, sometimes that just means that there's not a lot going on with your product, but sometimes it means that you haven't picked out the most important things about your product.
Well, they seem to know who they are. I mean,
by the way, Waku, what's in Waku is really good.
I mean, Recess has set out to be the brand that is to chill out, the relaxation brand. They're not a relaxation drink per se. There's a special category there's a specific category used to describe those types of beverages, but it's just take a time out, take a recess kind of thing. And I mean, the packaging just seems to say, just chill. It's all good. Just Chill is the name of another brand, actually, so maybe I shouldn't say that.
All right.
That
now.
Yes. All right. Let's see what else we got. Oh, you know what? All right. From CBD to rosé wine. Saturday Session is the name of this product. This brand. We met the founder of Saturday Session at BevNet Live Winter 2018. Really tasty product. And I think the 100 calories per 8 ounces or 8.4 ounces really speaks to where the alcoholic beverage industry is leaning these days. You just start to see so many of these better for you, even though you can't say better for you, alcoholic drinks. I've never actually seen the word, up until seeing this brand, I've never seen the word session applied to a wine. But it's appropriate.
A beer word.
It's appropriate given that, session is supposed to represent in the beer world a lower alcohol, easier drinking wine.
Yep.
Mitch, the answer is Kermit the Frog.
Oh, wow. Mine's Ernie.
Ernie.
Yep.
Have you had this product before? Did you try it?
I have tried this product. I like this product. I like the flavor of this product. The can draws me in, and I think this is an interesting play because this is a fairly new, but category that has some interesting other players in it, like Bev and Rose Bubbles. So this is one of those situations where all the products in the space I think taste pretty good, but like this delivery method is sort of the new here.
I like
and
it.
also their differentiator is their lower alcohol.
Portability is something also, the canned wine just offers another opportunity for you to drink wine and a different usage occasion as well if you're going camping, if you're going out to the beach, etc.
I think the color palette here is really good for wine, though. I mean, it's very much a wine color palette.
All right. Last but not least, we got some new Limitless sparkling water.
This is that way.
What's that?
It's not limitless. It's limitless. You have to say it like that.
It's a lightly caffeinated sparkling water. Limitless, also a maker of cold brew coffee and cold brew tea. Interestingly enough, since we had EVT just on, I like this product. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where, it adds the functional benefit. You have a functional benefit in addition to just sparkling water. Sometimes I want a little pick me up, but I don't want a coffee. I don't want a tea. This is perfect. This is right up the alley for some of those folks like myself. This grapefruit hibiscus product that I have in my hand is really, really tasty. I feel like Limitless really nailed it on the flavor
Is
front.
this their only product?
No, I said they have coffee and tea as well.
So they have coffee and tea, right? And they've spent a lot of time educating people on the fact that they have coffee and tea and water. This is one of those for me that's like, I like the product. I like what's in the can, but for me, it's like, this is a lot of different products for them to have to educate about. That Limitless is about all these products. And I think that the differentiation on the product labeling is pretty good, but it's just a lot of products.
And
for a newer company,
It is, but it seems like, they're tapping into what people want these days. They want a cold brew, better for you kind of coffee. Cold brew tea is on the bleeding edge for sure. And then just sparkling water is just, a category that's just been blowing up. I also love this call out of caffeine meets clean. I'll turn this around so our audience can see it here. I like that tagline a lot.
I can't wait to catch up with them at Expo West and just find out how they're, how they're marketing all these different products.
Indeed. Speaking of Expo West, we're going to be out there next week. The entire team and then some. Come see us. Come visit us. If you want to check us out on Instagram, this is BevNet Mike on Bev Trade with a Y. We talked about Modern Foodist. But if you really want a comprehensive journey through Expo West, you can follow our Instagram, our company Instagram handles. That's at BevNet, at BevNET.com, and most importantly, BevNet Taste Radio. All right. I think that's it for this episode.
FOMO in your booth. I'm telling you, you're going to be sitting in your booth, and it's going to be a little bit of a lull, and you're going to be like, I wish I knew what was going on in the rest of the show. This is the way.
All right. Origin Almond also, they just said to please visit us at Expo West booth 2117. I highly recommend
booth
it.
plug.
2117. I highly recommend it. It's a great brand, great product.
That's an interesting. The flavor of that stuff is interesting. Like you taste it, and it takes a little bit to master it. It's not one of those that's instant. Where for me, when I first tasted, I was instant like, I totally get this. And then I had a couple more sips, and I was like, now I get this. And that's a good product. I liked it.
It is. All right, signing off for episode
very different
5 of Taste Radio
we'll
now.
See you next time.
That's Mike. I'm Ray. Tune in next week. We will be streaming from Expo West. It's at a different time. We're going to release that time next week, but our regularly scheduled time for Taste Radio Now is 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific every Thursday. Thank you all just so much for watching. Thanks to you. Thanks for folks who are tuning in and sending us questions and comments. Thanks to John Lannis for all the work that he was doing today.
Nate, feel better.
Yes. But we'll see you next week. We're going to release the time and information for next week's episode. Look for it on Instagram. And we'll email blast everyone about this anyway, right?
Oh, we'll be spamming. I'm sure. We'll get you.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.